Have you ever felt completely swallowed up by life circumstances? Imagine being trapped in absolute darkness, surrounded by the sounds of digestion, with seaweed wrapped around your head and the crushing weight of the ocean above you. This isn't a nightmare. This is exactly where the prophet Jonah found himself, and it's where he discovered one of the most powerful truths about faith. Our story begins in ancient Israel, around 760 BC, during the reign of King Jeroboam II. Jonah, son of Amittai, was a well-known prophet from Gath-Hepher, a small town in Galilee. Unlike other prophets who delivered messages to Israel, Jonah received an unusual assignment from God. Travel to Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, and warn them of impending judgment. Nineveh wasn't just any city. It was Israel's greatest enemy. The Assyrians were known for their brutal warfare and oppression. They were the last people Jonah wanted to see receive God's mercy. So, instead of heading northeast toward Nineveh, Jonah boarded a ship sailing west to Tarshish, possibly modern-day Spain, as far from his divine assignment as possible. But you can't run from God. As Jonah's ship sailed across the Mediterranean, God sent a violent storm that threatened to tear the vessel apart. The experienced sailors, terrified by the supernatural intensity of the tempest, began throwing cargo overboard and crying out to their various gods. Meanwhile, Jonah slept soundly in the ship's hold, perhaps exhausted from his rebellion. The captain found Jonah and demanded he pray to his God for deliverance. When the sailors cast lots to determine who was responsible for their predicament, the lot fell on Jonah. Under pressure, he confessed his identity and his flight from God's presence. The solution he offered was dramatic. Pick me up and throw me into the sea, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you. Reluctantly, after trying everything else, the sailors hurled Jonah into the raging waters. Immediately, the sea became calm. But this wasn't the end of Jonah's story. It was just the beginning of his transformation. God had prepared a great fish to swallow Jonah, and for 3 days and 3 nights, the prophet remained in the creature's belly. Now, here's where our story takes an unexpected turn. Instead of continuing to complain or bargain with God, Jonah does something remarkable. He prays. But this isn't a desperate plea for rescue. It's a prayer of thanksgiving. From the depths of the fish, Jonah prays what scholars call his psalm, recorded in Jonah chapter 2. In my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead, I called for help, you listened to my cry," Jonah begins. Notice something profound here. Jonah doesn't say, "God will answer me." He says, "God answered me." Even in his darkest moment, trapped inside a sea creature, Jonah expresses faith that God has already heard him. Jonah continues his prayer with vivid imagery. "You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me." He's not minimizing his circumstances or pretending everything is fine. He's acknowledging the full reality of his desperate situation, while simultaneously expressing trust in God's character. Then comes one of the most beautiful expressions of faith in Scripture. "But I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord." This is extraordinary. Jonah is essentially saying, "I will praise you before I see the outcome, because I trust who you are." This prayer reveals a fundamental truth about faith in life's darkest moments. True faith isn't the absence of difficulty or fear. It's the choice to trust God's character, even when circumstances seem hopeless. Jonah learned that running from God leads to deeper trouble. But turning to God in our lowest moments opens the door to transformation. The fish's belly became Jonah's prayer closet. In that dark, uncomfortable place, he rediscovered something he'd forgotten in his rebellion. God's faithfulness doesn't depend on our circumstances or even our obedience. God's love pursues us even into the depths of our own making. Modern psychology confirms what Jonah experienced. Research shows that gratitude, even in difficult circumstances, literally rewires our brains for resilience and hope. When we choose thankfulness in our darkest moments, we're not denying reality. We're choosing to see beyond our immediate circumstances to God's greater purposes. Jonah's prayer also teaches us about the power of honest communication with God. He doesn't sugarcoat his situation or pretend to be spiritual. He describes his terror, his sense of being cut off from God, and his physical distress. Yet, within this honesty, he weaves declarations of faith and promises of future worship. After 3 days, God commanded the fish to vomit Jonah onto dry land. The prophet emerged transformed, ready to fulfill his original mission. His experience in the fish had changed him from a reluctant, prejudiced prophet into someone who understood God's mercy personally. Jonah's story resonates across centuries because we all face moments when life feels overwhelming. Whether it's job loss, relationship breakdown, health crises, or personal failures. We all have our fish belly experiences. The question isn't whether these moments will come, but how we'll respond when they do. Jonah discovered that our darkest moments can become doorways to deeper faith. When we're stripped of our usual resources and comfortable routines, we often find God in ways we never experienced before. The fish wasn't just Jonah's punishment. It was his protection and his classroom. The Hebrew word for fish in this story is dag, which can refer to any large sea creature. Some scholars suggest this might have been a whale or large shark, but the specific species matters less than the miracle itself, God's ability to preserve life even in seemingly impossible circumstances. Jonah's psalm reminds us that thanksgiving isn't just appropriate when things go well. It's especially powerful when offered from life's depths. This kind of faith-filled gratitude acknowledges that God is working even when we can't see how, that his purposes extend beyond our immediate comfort, and that his love follows us even into the consequences of our own choices. Today, when you face your own overwhelming circumstances, remember Jonah's example. Don't wait for rescue to begin praising. Don't postpone gratitude until problems resolve. Like Jonah, you can choose faith in the depths, knowing that salvation truly comes from the Lord.